president of Healthcare Professional Alliance, so many things. And he's going to talk, and but his passionate topic is family medicine. He's going to talk to us on the ethics concern in a family medicine and how it can be run. The third person is Kamal Aydin. He is the head of the World Longevity Forum. He is from Turkey. He will be also addressing to us on the one of the most important thing today we have is longevity, aging, and a lot of people doing exercise, and we see the sudden death in the people, and a lot of drugs are coming down in obesity management. It's what are the ethical challenge and how we are going to do, and what is the important of that. And Kamal Aydin is going to talk to us from Turkey. So the first talk will be Joy. It is our pleasure and welcome Dr. Joy Mugambi. She's talking from Kenya. So we will let us listen to her from Joy. It is time is yours. Dr. Joy? Dr. Joy?
Sir, maybe we'll ask Arulraj sir to speak first time.
Okay, if Joy is not there, Arulraj sir will be.
Will do. Come.
Arulraj sir, are you ready, sir? Is that fine?
I am ready.
Can I, sir, just carry on? I will just join back. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Warm welcome, Arulraj sir. Kindly share your PowerPoint and start your presentation.
I'm doing it.
Venkatesh Karthikeyan sir, sorry for the delay.
Share பண்ணுடா.
Okay, sir.
Are you okay, sir?
Yeah, I'm just sharing the PPTs. அவ்வளவுதான்டா இங்க வரலையா?
Jalal sir, can you try speaking to Jai Mugambi sir? He has any connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, sir. You are ready to go, sir. Good
Yes.
luck, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kanakavel and all the participants and President Commonwealth Medical Association, our Jailal. I mean, it's a excellent program Jailal has organized on bioethics. I have been asked to talk something on ethics in family medicine. I'll briefly go through the various concepts for the family medicine. Though it is for family medicine, it will fit for any medical practice. Any medical practitioner who is allopathy qualified will be fitting in. The general practitioner is the person. General practitioner, sorry. General practitioner is the person who is treating acute illness, chronic illness, and provides preventive care and health education. It's a total. I used to say it's a broad base, and apex may be a little narrow, but base is broad, and that is the importance of them. And they always take care of any medical problem. And a classical GP is knowledgeable but compassionate. Family medicine is the academic name of this discipline, which was earlier called as general practice. Now it is called as family medicine. Now we'll come to the ethics. Ethics is grounded on the belief that medicine is inherently a moral enterprise. Ethics is not science. It is based on moral enterprise. There is no occupation which is more universal and portable as medicine. The practice of medicine and the learning of the same is punctuated with complexities, bias, ethically gray areas, and moral dilemmas. Ethics are, you may all wonder what is ethic, whether it is a law, or suppose, I do an error, will my degree will be erased. I'll just try to clarify. Ethics are not the same as feelings. Ethics are not religion. Ethics is not following law. Ethics is not following culturally acceptable norm. This culture accepts it, this culture does not know. Ethics is not science. Ethics are moral principle. When we treat a person disease, we are treating that person. Therefore, there is a moral principle involved in it. That is what is defined as ethics. What is good or bad, we decide. What is right or wrong? What is a value-based system? Ethics norms are not universal, may have changes due to culture of the society. There are four basic principles of medical ethics. That is autonomy. I'll just define what are these things. Second is beneficence. Third is non-maleficence. Fourth is justice. These are the four concepts of medical ethics. These are the four pillars of medical ethics. That is an autonomy and beneficence and non-maleficence and then justice. Based on that only ethics travels. As I told you, these are the four basic concepts. There are a lot of other things are also involved, but we are not very much bothered about it. We just keep them in mind, but decide on these four basic principles only. Medicine as a profession. See, according to Dunstan, medical ethics is defined as the obligation of moral nature which govern the practice of medicine. See, it is a moral nature, as I told you, what is right or wrong, what is good or bad, that you decide and apply on the patient. Adherence to ethics is very crucial. When treating the patient, when we adhere to it, it is called as a clinical ethics. Medical ethics is changed to clinical. When medicine applied upon the patient, we call it as clinical. Medical ethics analyzes the practice of clinical medicine, medical practice, and related scientific research. The four concepts we have seen, there are certain principles which are involved. One is the Hippocratic Oath, another Declaration of Helsinki 1964, and Medical Code of Ethics of our Medical Council of India. They are all part of it. And ethics-centric medicine. Medical ethics is concerned with the obligations of the doctor and the hospital to the patient and other health professionals and society. See, in healthcare, there is a patient, there is a doctor, and there is a hospital, and other health professionals and other society. All of them are linked in this ethics-centric medicine. The health profession has a set of ethics applicable to different groups of health professionals and healthcare institutions. This is the ethics. This goes around law, values, equality, fairness, and finally settles with morals. And this is the definition of the key determinants of ethical issue, autonomy. Patient basically has the right to determine their own health care. His dominance is most important. He has the value on deciding the type of treatment. Doctor may say so many things, but he has to decide. That is called autonomy. Justice, distributing the benefits and burden of care across the society. Beneficence, doing good only for the patient. Non-maleficent means making sure that do no harm. You are not harming the patient. Do no harm. You'll have to do good, but do no harm. That is equally important. Clinical ethics is a practice area that helps patients, their families, and health professionals arrive at the correct clinical decision. Objective clinical ethics is a field of practice. Clinical ethics is therefore not the mere analysis of the problem of clinical practice, but to address the decision making. See, the analysis of the problem is medicine, science. But to address the decision, doctor gives a decision, patient has a decision, patient family has a decision. And addressing that decision making is clinical ethics. Ethics, because the basic positive continuous comprehensive care. Key aspects of ethics in family medicine include relationship based and relations and balance the four principle have to be Sorry for the, connectivity issue. See, I'll give you a few clinical examples so that we can understand it better. One reason I have said young pain, McBurney's point tenderness is there, and he has to undergo surgery. But he may deny for a surgery. And he may deny for surgery. I mean, if he decides for it and we cannot go ahead, that is called as autonomy. That is called as autonomy. We have to accept to that. And secondly, refusal of there is a young chap has got a malignant melanoma, and he has to be from the GP has to be referred to a specialist. But he may be adamant that he does not need a referral. That's his autonomy. We need to explain to him and accept his decision. And the first approach to making ethical decision is to ensure that all facts are made known to the patient and his family. Even after that, as in this case, malignant melanoma, if they decide to avoid a referral, he has to live with that. And secondly, another lady, a senior citizen, 76-year-old lady, she has a chest pain. The doctor sees the patient, takes an ECG. It's a myocardial infarction. She has to be referred to the hospital, but for a primary PCI, but she may not accept it. She may say, in spite of explaining, she may not accept that he is not leaving the home, and she wants her let known to the family. Now, at this stage, the doctor can give some primary treatment aspect of it, like a heparin or an antiplatelet, but she cannot be shifted to hospital for a PCI. That we need to accept to that. This is the autonomy. And they're doing justice, and a GP can only refuse a surgery. He may have to go for a second opinion. Without that surgery, he cannot do that GP. In that situation, he has to do justice to the patients. Beneficence and not maleficence generally are the heart rate. I have a heart attack. Patient says, I will not go. We need to listen to that. Something. We don't do any harm to the patient. And frameworks are very, very important. For example, somebody is a atrial fibrillation patient. He's on oral anticoagulant to prevent a stroke. She has stopped it. She developed nausea. And what should be done? She has to be reassessed. And again, anticoagulant has to be started. A justice is the lady should be immediately offered anticoagulation. That we should not wait here. In a case of malignancy, we should always tell the truth to the patient again and again. This may give a change of their decision. And in a family medicine, patient remains in the driving seat of all their illnesses as much as possible. Whether it is, we talked about certain examples, a cancer, an appendicitis, a myocardial infarction, malignancy, all these things we have talked about. Patients have taken a decision. We do a primary, therapy, and we listen to that. That is what we say. The patient is sitting in the driving seat of his or her illness. There are religious and cultural issues. There are certain religious and cultural issues. They may deny a treatment. Even there, the ethics says that you need to accept it. And then doctor-patient relationship is based on mutual trust and respect. However, rapid changes in the medical field and corporatization of the healthcare has strained the age-old good relations, but we should maintain the good relations. And duties of the physician, duties and responsibility of the physician. First is towards their patients, where the physician should endeavor to add to the comfort of the sick by making his visits. He has to, as a GP, sometimes patient may not be able to come to him. He has to go to him to make the visit, especially in emergency situations. And attendance should never be revealed unless the relations, the patient's condition should never be revealed unless it is asked by the law of the land or in a family circumstance or taking the prognosis. The patient condition should always, we should ensure that the patient or his family totally knows about it. What is the disease, what treatment is being given, what will, whether he or she has to and the patient is free to, the physician is free to choose whom he will treat. That's a different aspect of it. But when he accepted to treat, he should totally be conscious on that. For example, there is an obstetric case and he may not be able to handle it, and the case has to be referred to the obstetrician in a timely manner so that the baby and mother are saved. And statement to patient after consultation. After consultation, facts must be totally let known to the patient, and referral to a specialist. Suppose he is referring a case to a specialist, a good case summary with all the details must be there, and it should be given to the referral doctor and also to the family members. Fee, he should always ethically display his fee and his name and full designation with the registration numbers have to be displayed. And the responsibility of the physicians to each other, dependent of physicians on each other. You should not, there can be an error in diagnosis or treatment, but don't discriminate that and don't try to make it a big issue. And we should always try to be good with our professional colleague. And when you are not there and you have got a set of patients ready, you must always have a substitute appointed that should be displayed and let known to the patients also. And visiting, see, you may have in an emergency or in the absence of a clinician, you may be forced to see another doctor's patient. Here, a remark upon the diagnosis or the treatment should never be done. And physician is also a citizen. Therefore, he should be more, compassionate to the community and take care of the community health also. And even when there is an epidemic of communicable disease like our, COVID, we need to notify the diseases. And he should not be worried that if he go and see the cases, he will get a contract the disease and so on. We should come out of it and physician, their duties, and we should follow them. Records must be maintained for 3 years at record. It is a legal format also. And the records must be given within 72 hours as requested. And maintain a register of what are the records you have. And yet, very important point, I will just highlight that there are 3 components in etiquette: appearance, behavior, and communication. The appearance, we should have always have this report. The institution with the name very clearly coming out has to be seen. Secondly, communication. Sorry, this is the name. The third is the behavior. We should be there. If the time is written there, it should be there in that time. His body language. Thirdly, communication. Patient interactions with privacy and confidentiality, cultural sensitivity, and interactions with colleague is very important. Compulsory duties of the doctor, notification of the births and deaths is important, and notification of notifiable diseases, reporting of poisoning, medical legal issue, reporting of suspected causes of death, and reporting of cases covered under the privileged communication, responding to call for emergency and military services depending upon the patient's condition. Voluntary duties of the doctor to treat and continue and maintain the professional secrets of the patient. to obtain consent from the patient's for medical examination, consent before any procedure, and in medical certificates, either of illness or fitness, death, vaccination have to be done, to conduct post-mortem examination if it is needed, to inspect the presence cases of accidents and medical emergencies, conduct medical examination. Only one aspect is consent. Without consent, not treat a doctor. It can be an implied consent. It may not consent, but it is always implied that the patient has given consent. May be possible in OPD. IPD, informed consent is needed. In a legal situation, consent is very important, and the age of giving the consent is 12 or above. Regarding there is a entity called a refusal of the treatment. Doctor can refuse a treatment. Even at that stage, preliminary treatment has to be completed, then only he can transfer it to another person. Unethical acts in medical profession. That is advertisement of the physician in various daily newsletters, printing of self-photograph, running an open medical shop, rebates and commissions, and practice of euthanasia. Professional misconduct. When any of the following acts are done, it is under professional misconduct. Not maintaining medical record for 3 years, not displaying a registration number in clinic and prescription, sex determination test, contravening Drugs and Cosmetic Act, contribute to lay press articles with it is not a health aspect for advertising himself. Unusually large signboards and claiming as a specialist when you don't have a qualification, violating the existing ICMR guideline, in vitro fertilization without consent from the female patient. We'll have to be very, very careful in all that. The rules and doctor pharma. The doctor pharma should not be linked either as gifts, a travel facility, or hospitality, affiliations, endorsement. Only for updating the scientific knowledge, when a program is done by, the pharma, a doctor is entitled to attend. Ethical ways to market your practice. Now, doctor has to, having spent so much of years and having spent a lot of money, has to promote his practice also. You don't do superlatives. I am the only best like that. Don't promote specific services or medication. Do not employ actors to provide patient testimonials. Refrain from showing competitors in a bad light. Do not reveal sensitive patient information. Stay away from fear mongering. Paid advertisement is a strict no. And unethical advertising, that is solicitation of patient directly or indirectly by the patient talking good about the hospital or a doctor, and should not do that, should not boost up the cases, surgeries, cures, etc. And unethical advertisements always put you into trouble, and medical code of ethics have been violated. What is ethical advertisement? It is a formal announcement without photograph on starting your practice, on change of type of practice, or changing the address, or temporary absence from the duty, or resumption of another practice, or succeeding to another practice. Public declaration of the charges can always be done as per the code of ethics. There are two codes of ethics. One is a medical code, which all of us know. I have added business ethics. Business ethics are little different. See, now medical profession is considered as a business. In court of law, you are considered as a businessman, and patient is your client. But hospitals are regulated as industry and trade, but expecting value-added services of a profession is always a tough one. I used to call it as a dichotomy, but this has to be sorted out. As I said, ethical ways of marketing or practicing, we already talked about it. And there is in a TV and all, you can always try to have a chat only on the health aspect of it. Some newer drug has come, we can discuss what is good, what is not good, but should not be, focused on the doctor. And cyber marketing now has become, a very great one in the various social medias, and use of artificial intelligence should always be avoided. And medical versus business ethics, as I said, the mismatch of the society and government regulating hospital as industry, but expecting value added as a service, as a profession. But we need to live with that. Today, the legal situation is such, we need to balance between what could be the rewritten guidelines for doctors using advertisement. Photo, name, quality, register number, and specialty can be always, uploaded. Special accolades and the profession can be updated. Specialty services offered, timings, but no comparison with other colleagues, no factorial information, no actors or celebrities engaged, no paid advertisement, public health messages, lectures permitted, media, print and electronic can be always utilized. And professional ethics are very, very important here. The registered medical practitioner should not employ any attendant who is neither registered nor enlisted under the medical acts. And no commission or bonus is permitted. And professional ethics, especially in euthanasia, that is withdrawing the support devices, you will have to get the total consent of the family. And at least 3 people should sit and try to examine and come to a conclusion. And sex determination also under this act, both medical education and research, the norms of MCA, NMC must be adhered to. Ethics in medical practice, gentlemen, the summary will be the patient care decision and finance. Both the responsibilities go together. Intensive care ethics are very important. Priority. Who has to be given the priority? Not because he's a rich man. This has to be prioritization based on the severity of the condition. And drugs, there are 5 chairs, there are 4 ventilators. Who has to be given the ventilator first? Depending on whose oxygen level is very low. And the duties of the doctor, voluntary, talked about consent, and then research guidelines and evolving trends and conditions. Father of our nation said, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. Medical ethics is a multidisciplinary approach for human treatment and the moral requirement, and its sacred tenets cannot be compromised. The learning and practice of medicine largely revolves around the principle of common good. For the physicians of future, ethics in their day-to-day practice and in the tenure of training will be cornerstone of medical care itself. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say what are all the facts here. Medical ethics is not law. Medical education and research must follow ethics. Medical practice ethics. Whether he is a family doctor or a specialist, consent and emergency care, ICU care treatment options must be patient-centric, not doctor-centric. Professional advertisement, ethical norms are to be followed. Ethics offers professional popularity and safety for family doctors also. Thank you. Thank you. I have conveyed you what are the concepts, how it should be practiced in a family doctor or any medical profession. Thank you. என்னடா பண்ற நீ? ஹலோ, அவர்தான் வந்து வேற என்ன? Thank you very much. Govindasamy. Hello, Dr. Govindasamy.
Sir, any help required, sir?
No, I have completed.
Yes, sir.
I have completed.
Short term.
Sir, any questions from the floor, please?
Last la Thirmangalam service road.
Participant for.
Questions.
Mute. Friends, we have lecture being completed. Any questions from the floor? Arulraj sir, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yes, sir. We move on to the next talk, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Joy Mugambi.
Hi, everyone.
Welcome, Prof. How are you?
Very fine. Hi.
Yes. Professor Joy, you can start your talk. You can share your PowerPoint and start your presentation. Welcome, warm welcome.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Joy. I'm a family physician. My senior has just spoken, so I'll be taking this section where we are talking about gendered. I titled my session under Gendered Dynamics for Healthcare, Ethics with an Equity Lens. We're always talking about health, and we rarely talk about the gender issues that fall around health. And if we are talking about ethics, we truly need to talk about also how do we ensure that it gender aligns and that all dynamics are catered for, especially in healthcare. So my talk today will look at to better understand the gender-based differences and inequities influencing health for women, men, girls, and boys, not just women, because when we talk about gender, most people focus on women, but gender is basically not just women, it's men, women, and also girls and boys. During this session, we'll also look at learning how to apply gender analysis and planning to our work. And with that, I want to look at within Commonwealth, their approaches to gender mainstreaming, and different countries have come up with different legal mandates. Within our association, we have currently a gender equity committee, and this gender equity committee recently had sent out a survey trying to look at what policies are there that address gender and try to mainstream it within their systems. One, I come from Kenya, and in Kenya, we have a constitution of 2010 which addresses the two-third gender principle, as well as national policies on gender and development, which ensure mandatory gender mainstreaming and reporting. In the UK, we've seen an Equality Act of 2010, which also has requirements that public sector should have equality duty in policy and in service delivery. In Australia, we see a Sex Discrimination Act of 1984 with Workplace Gender Equality Act of 2012. And this mandates employers report on gender equality and federal obligations. Whereas back to Africa, in Rwanda, we have the Constitution 2003, which ensures that there is a minimum of 30% women in decision-making bodies. While in South Africa, we have what we call the PPUDA, which has a substantive equality and gender responsive budgeting to ensure that budgets are well mainstreamed within the gender responsive budgeting. In Canada, on the other end, which is also a Commonwealth country, we have the Gender-Based Analysis Plus, which is the GBA Plus, which has a mandatory assessment of policy impact on diverse groups. I know I may not have exhausted all policies in place, but I'm open to hear from you. Please drop in a chat in terms of what happens in your country. But I looked also at policies and legislatures that are there in different countries. We see a political representation and legislative quotas with a primary mechanism of constitutional quotas, reserved legislation seats, and mandatory party listings. In certain Commonwealth countries, these are case example of Kenya, Rwanda, India, and Bangladesh. And the target is to achieve gender parity in national and local governance. And this basically looks at the leadership level and increase in women representation in decision making. But there is also legal frameworks around work and economic parity, where the primary mechanism is mandatory gender pay gap, reporting, corporate transparency requirements, and workplace equity reporting, and procurement incentives and penalties. This is seen in examples of Australia, United Kingdom, and Canada, where their target outcome is closing the gender wage gap, promoting equal employment opportunities, and improving women's representation in leadership and executive positions. So this helps to enhance and ensure that there is some legislature that is following around. But I still urge you, if you have legislatures that are not part of this discussion, please input them in our the chat box so that we also learn from you, because these are learning lessons from both ends. So the key legislative models across the Commonwealth, when we summarize them, bring out 5 recurring approaches that emerge. One, there is constitutional quotas and representation requirements, like what we see in the Kenya, Rwanda, and India examples. There is equality legislation requiring gender consideration in public policy, as we see in the United Kingdom and South Africa. Then there is mandatory gender reporting and accountability mechanisms, like we see in the Australian legislature systems, and gender impact assessment frameworks for policy developments like we see in Canada. And the 5th one is gender responsive budgeting. Very innovative, and it's something that we all need to look at and learn from in terms of ensuring we have gender responsive budgeting. And when we look at the gender analysis framework, we'll see how we can incorporate that as we do our policies, as we do our plans within our facilities, to ensure we embed that within our systems. The key message for us as Commonwealth countries is use legal binding mechanisms to institutionalize gender mainstreaming in governance, public administration, and budgeting. And with this talk, we want to see how to ensure we do that. And having looked back, we've seen the policies that are in place in most of our Commonwealth countries. And for this session, we want to see how we can ensure we improve and we model through gender mainstreamed policies and plans within our healthcare facilities and our healthcare delivery. So why now, and what guides us when it comes to EVIC? There is a Universal Declaration for Human Rights, Article 25, 1, which everyone has a right to a standard of living adequate for their health and well-being of himself and his family, including food, clothing, housing, medical care, and the necessary social services, and the right to security in the event of unemployment, sickness, disability, widowhood, old age, other lack of livelihood, and circumstances beyond his control. And we look at this, the right to health. Sometimes you end up finding policies that do not consider women because they are pregnant, or men because they have certain issues, maybe disability, or young children because they probably have some congenital disorder, cannot attend a school. And that is where we look at the Universal Declaration for Human Rights and bring it in to have not just the human right lens, but also adding the gender equity lens within it. So sometimes we look at gender with an interface of sex or gender. What's the difference? And these are questions everyone asks. Well, sex is biological and physiological characteristics. But now, why do you want to talk about gender? Gender, on the other end, is the social constructed roles and responsibilities, the relationships, the values, the attitude, and the forms of power. And this we will look at examples as we move on. So gender is learned. It's context specific and it varies from culture to another. If we're in India, the culture will influence that. If we're in Africa, things will be different. When you go to Europe, how they perceive gender and how they look at different roles and responsibility based on sex is very dynamic and changeable. And our responsibilities change and our relationships change based on that. So what is gender construct? These are social norms, expectations, and roles that attribute to individuals based on their gender identity. And we do note that currently we have different gender identities there, and we really need to align them as we work on our policies. Then impact of health. These construct affects different aspects of health. One, access to health services. When you look at access to health services, maternal health, reproductive health rights, women may have a challenge getting through to a hospital because they probably need to seek permission from their husbands or a mother-in-law to get to a health service. It's probably them who have the power of money, and this woman needs to access care. When it comes to health-seeking behavior, men may avoid utilizing health services because of the masculine norms. Very common within our culture. We've just been doing a customer survey evaluation within the area where I manage in my country, and from my report, we had a major majority of women responding rather than men, meaning the numbers that come into the facility are less in terms of utilization of services as men. But how do we bring that in when we set out policies? Our health spaces fit for men to come in, and what are we missing out that we need to incorporate them within the health service and ensure that they are utilizing it and getting the right care at the right time? Then exposure to health risks is another construct that you need to look at when dealing with gender. Women face risks of gender violence. When you're planning your health services, are you planning safe spaces where the women in your workplace can work without any danger? Could they be attacked? How are you planning their rotas to ensure that they are safe enough, that they are getting home at the right time without any hurdles? Then occupational health risk. Mostly men work in dangerous jobs, and that is what is perceived, but we are seeing a change in trends. Women are caregiver positions, but this is also changing. And when we do policies and plans and projects and health service delivery, we need to consider what are the occupational health risks that are in place. So the impact of gender roles and norms on health in terms of women and men. Norms are societal expectations related to acceptable attitudes and behaviors of men, women, boys, and girls, whereas roles are basically what we do on a daily basis. The norms is what my community expects. My community expects I'm a wife, I'm supposed to stay home, I'm not supposed to be at work. But roles are also assigned based on gender, and this really affects how we also deliver healthcare services. So what's the impact of resource access and control in terms of health for women and men? When we talk of gender has issues in terms of access. And when we talk about access, we want to see what's the availability of resources. That woman that you're planning for to come to the health facility may not be able to access that healthcare service because they probably do not have the resource to be able to make it. They don't have a vehicle. They probably don't have a tuk-tuk to make it to the facility. They probably do not have money. And so you also need to look at who's in control. Is the ability to define influence and make binding decisions about the use of these resources. We've seen in our communities where women are pregnant, but they come in late in terms of coming in for service delivery. But why is this? Why did they come in late? Why are we blaming them at the health facility? Probably they did not have access. They did not have control of the resources that are available. And when you go to assess them at their households, you find they seem to be having everything. But probably the person with control is the mother-in-law and the husband, and they have no control of the resources available within them. And so how do we bring equity and access closer to these persons who cannot be able to make it to the service delivery point? So health and gender equity. We want to look at making sure, what does gender equity mean in reality? It refers to fairness and justice in allocation of power and societal resources based on the different needs of the men, women, boys, and girls. And it aims to eliminate obstacles to access education, healthcare, and political participation. But at the end of it, equity is the means. Equality is the result. And this is what we need to assess when we are doing our programs, projects, and service delivery. So we've seen these images over and over. And for me, the last image is the most important. True equity is where we remove barriers so that everyone has equal chance to succeed. And we'll see how we can do that in the slides that follow. This image is an image I took once while I was in one of our community work. These two, when you look at the image before of equality, equity, and true equity, this tells us a lot. There is the lady carrying her wood on the head. There is a gentleman with a motorbike driving with his wood on his motorbike. They are all going somewhere, but this woman is going to take care of her family. She's going to cook, she's going to clean, she's probably going to fetch water. This gentleman is probably going to the marketplace and he'll sell his firewood. He'll probably have some fun time with the men in the community. And at the end of the day, this is the same person you're planning for to come to the facility despite all the work.
I know.
Please have someone mute. There's someone whose mic is off. Thank you. So just at a lens, this is equity and equality addressed at the community level. So we want to gender mainstream the process of assessing the implication of women, boys, and girls. It's a process of assessing the implication of men, women, and boys and girls of any planned action in all areas and at all levels. We are looking at leadership, policy, service delivery. How do we ensure we assess the implication of gender in all these levels? Then strategies to make women as well as men concerns and experiences an integrated dimension in the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of policy and programs in all political, economic, and social spheres. We plan service delivery. Do we consider how women, men, boys, and girls will use these services? We've seen people moving to youth-friendly centers so that youth can be able to utilize services. We've seen women's wellness services. We've seen men's wellness services. When you're considering all this, you're trying to gender mainstream. And your ultimate goal is to achieve gender equality. Then we need to look at gender analysis. And this is something you need to do every time you plan services or policies or projects within your workspaces. Gender analysis involves examining differences in lives of women and men, which includes their roles, their responsibilities, access to resources, and decision-making capacity. its importance of this gender analysis is to help to design equitable policies and programs that address gender disparities. And this is something commonly happening whenever you write a grant. You're asked, have you done gender analysis? Did you ensure that you have also done disability mainstreaming? Gender and disability mainstreaming are things that grant partners are always looking to ensure that you have included that in your project plans and your project reports. So key aspects of analysis is recognizing that sex and gender are distinct units of analysis, and this needs to be included when you're doing your research work or your policy drafts. Consider that gender roles and norms affect access and control over resources and are an integral part of the methods used. Then recognize that women and men are not the same at any stage of their lives. They vary, and also this is something that you need to compare. That young woman and that older woman are different. And that young man and the older man are so different, and this needs to be planned for adequately. Then constitute a systematic process and requires long-term commitment when you're doing your gender analysis. It's essential to develop a sound policy and program, and it's also essential in evidence base as qualitative and quantitative data. And as I've said, gender analysis is now something every grant giver or funding partner is looking to have you present to them that it was done and it is available. So while the framework there are different frameworks for gender analysis. There's the Harvard Analytic Framework. I'll share these links so that you're able to look at them. There is also the MOSA Gender Planning Framework, which differentiates between practice and strategic gender needs. The Harvard one focuses on gender roles and access to resources. And then there is the Gender Matrix, analysis matrix, which assesses gender differences in activities, resources, and benefits. So I'll focus on a framework that we created for lower and medium income countries in collaboration with JAPIGO that looks at access to assets, beliefs and perceptions, practice and participation, institution laws and policies. And using this framework, you're able to assess what is available vis-a-vis power at the center of everything. So we'll look at access to assets. What are the natural resources that are available as you gender mainstream? What's the productivity asset? What's the income of the community that you intend to do your project or services? Then how is information received within this community? And what's the knowledge status of the community? What are the social networks that are available for this community to be linked to? That's your access to assets that you're analyzing within the community that you intend to set up a project, a policy, research work, or any service need. On the other end, you also need to assess beliefs and perceptions. What influences this community? What are the opportunities that are available? Mobility and decisions. How easy is it to move? If you go to Nepal, it's a very hilly place. If you come to some of our places in Kenya, there are some very dry lands and very vast. As you plan your policies and projects, you could be planning for a clinic that is open 8 to 5. And this is a nomadic community. They move every time, they move with seasons. How do you ensure that you reach them based on their mobility and their decision making? And so what are the expectations and the appropriate behavior within that community? We are a global lot, especially within the Commonwealth. We move a lot. you need to also think about what does the next community that you will be working with expect, and what's the appropriate behavior in that community. Who do I address? Is it the women? Is it the men? Is it the children? You could be bringing a project that you intend to be for children, and you talk to the women, and it is not accepted because the entry point and the gatekeepers in that community are the men. Or you could be coming to talk to the men, whereas the entry point and the gatekeepers in that community are the women. So you need to look at the expectations and the appropriate behavior within that community in terms of beliefs and perceptions. Then institutions, laws, and policies. As I've said, being a global community, today you're working in India, tomorrow you could be working in Kenya, the next day you could be working in the UK. Do your due process. What's the education system? What are the policies and the laws in place in terms of education? What are the laws in place in terms of employment and opportunities? What are the laws and policies in place in terms of health services? Infrastructure, ownership, and inheritance rights. You probably are coming to set up a big facility within a different country, and you need to look at what rights are there in terms of ownership and inheritance rights. And probably your partner is female and you're male, and that community would not accept that bond. That means even as you work through your project or your proposal, it may not be taken positively within that community. So what are the laws in place and the policies that are put in place within those communities that you need to also align with? The final part of this gender analysis framework is practice and participation. Is there time? Is there space? Is there mobility? These households and communities, in these households and community, what's the division of labor? How do people work within this community that you intend to set up practices? Probably people here prefer coming into the clinic in the afternoon. I worked in a community where I used to wait for patients the whole morning. And for them, they go to the market in the morning, they come to the hospital at midday. And I have modeled a practice around 8 a.m. and at around 2 p.m. I move on to the wards to do other things. But I had to remodel how I was doing my work and ensure that since the women go to farm in the morning, come to the market, and then come to the facility, I was now modeling it around the household and the community division of labor. Then participation rates in different activities. You also need to look at how is the participation, who does what and who does not do what. And then now you can also assign them. And because this also will affect how you manage your facilities and what roles and responsibilities you give different people so that even your management leadership is aligned. So at the center of it all is power. You need to identify who's the power as you assign your gender roles and gender analysis within the community, because power is really key and it determines a lot in terms of the 4 frameworks of the analysis. So these are small analysis of different perspectives in terms of the things that we see in the community. When you look at access, I've kept sharing these examples, and these slides will be shared with those in the meeting, and you'll be able to go through them further. So how do we integrate gender in our programs, projects, and policies? We are looking to ensure objectives of this module, because I refer to it as module 3. We differentiate between gender neutral, gender sensitive, and gender transformative approaches in programs, projects, and policies. We apply these tools, and then we design actionable strategies in terms of our planning. And I want to look at the differences of those 3 gender analysis. when you do your gender analysis of your projects, you need to look at, is it gender neutral or gender blind? And sometimes I always say, look at a conference poster and ask yourself, was it gender neutral or gender blind? Did it have at least a 2/3 majority of the different genders with a good blend, with also equity when it comes to regions and places, especially when you're dealing with global organizations. So one definition, it does not recognize or address gender differences, and it treats people as having the same needs and experiences. Go through a policy document within your country and ask yourself, was this policy truly differentiating the gender differences? Did it address the needs of the men? Probably it's a maternal child health. Where were the men left out in probably that policy document that has been put in place? Then key points, this gender neutral practices risk reinforcing existing inequities by ignoring gender-based disparities. If you're calling for a meeting and you end up with men discussing maternal child health and you never brought in women, it means you have reinforced inequities. They do not know the pain, the issues beyond just the service delivery that encompass the social norms that are there within. For example, if you're bringing in women to address men's health and they are the only ones in that space, will they understand and will they know the intricate issues that are behind that gender and that need to be addressed? So gender sensitive and gender aware policies and projects, they recognize gender differences and disparities. They seek to address specific needs of different gender groups. And this is something that always comes up when we are having our Commonwealth meetings or even elections, events. We're always talking about, have women been included? Have we met gender disparities? Have we included ensuring that at least we have representation of the different genders? So key point is tailor interventions to ensure equitable participation and benefits. And an example is where maternal health programs address women-specific health needs and they ensure that they have been met. But at least they recognize the gender differences and disparities and seek to address those needs of different gender groups. The other one is at least we are seeking to actively challenge harmful the gender transformative. It seeks to actively challenge harmful gender norms and power dynamics. It promotes systemic change towards gender equality. And the key point is to aim to reshape social structures to achieve lasting equity. An example is programs that engage men and boys to transform attitudes towards gender-based violence. And this you have involved the men to hear their views, to have actionable actions that aim to end gender-based violence, or where you're looking at, we are planning a meeting, we are selecting speakers for this meeting, and we have now involved different genders to articulate different items within our conference plan or our meeting plans to ensure we have a more gender transformative meeting that meets the policy needs. So with that said, I hope this session has brought you closer to understanding why we need to incorporate gender within all our practices, our service delivery points, our policies, our management roles to ensure that we meet the needs of everyone in the community. So beyond this, let's create a connection between the workshop and our tasks. create a plan to incorporate gender considerations in your efforts. And then remember, where you're seeking a grant, where you are planning a project, some of the things that fail us within our project plans is that we do not include the gender analysis framework within our projects and plans. So thank you. I want to welcome you to Nairobi on the 12th to the 14th of November, where we'll have the 28th CMA Biannual General Meeting and also the inauguration of the next president. This will be the conference highlights. We hope to see many of you there. I personally hope to see many of you there, and we'll have more engagements as we move on. So to contact me, that's my email and that's my LinkedIn. I'll share it on the chat box. Thanks. Back to the moderator.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Joy,
Dr.
for excellent talk. Thank you for inviting all. Nairobi is one of the best places to see. The weather is also very good, and I think it will be all will be happy to visit and enjoy that place. The hospitality of Nairobi will be always great. Especially Joy is a good person to host us. So I welcome all our members to see that it's possible to join there. It will be our pleasure to install Joy as the next president of the Commonwealth Medical Association. Any questions from the audience? We can. Kanavil sir, you are here?
Yes, Professor Joy, I thoroughly enjoyed your talk addressing all the issues. I would like to ask a couple of questions. First questions, how much of women do have an influence on handling women gender issues, especially the elders at home? In India, we have a very unique architecture, and our state has empowered women to have free public transport so that they don't depend on their husbands to get to work. And we have a women, we call MSME. MSME is medium small industries, enterprises. So women have zero tax benefits. So being so much of support being given by the Indian government for women, but ultimately many times the mother-in-laws, they remain the hurdle for the women to get into the society. So how much of influence that has on the productivity of the women? Because I understand the male and female gender are the fight which has been happening from the time immemorial, and I think people are getting adequately sensitized. But women influencing the women gender, what is your take on it, and how do you foresee your presidentship to work on this factor? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof, for that question. And I'm very impressed with what India as a government has done for access. It's something that we need to learn from. And these are the forums that I intend to create where we actually learn from each other in different countries and see how we influence policies within our different regions. One of our biggest challenges as a country, where I am, and actually in many African countries, is we have a very high maternal mortality rate. And one of the big challenges that brings about maternal mortality is access and the distances they have to travel to get to a health facility that can cater for the vast needs that they have. So within the Commonwealth, with the Gender Equity Committee, we intend to analyze what policies are there. From the analysis we did, we at least had some baseline, but we also intend to have more forums in country to bring together women to discuss what are the challenges that are facing us, and also to mentor each other, a mentorship program that will ensure that we support each other and uplift each other and ensure that policies that are being put in place ensure no one is being left behind. Because yes, I do agree. One of our biggest challenges is ourselves. And the higher you go, research has shown we also put a lot of ceilings for the others to come up. But I want to give opportunity to other women to be able to have a space where they can speak out, they can lead, and they can also come in as young doctors moving into the policy space and be able to articulate their needs.
Thank you very much. Coming to the next important question, as such, even though we talk about biases and other things, how far we are from setting up a 50-50 formula for all institutional review boards and the ethics review boards, because that is where things can go wrong and that's where things can be set right.
We need to adhere to that. And we've seen leadership and boards that do not meet the threshold of the at least two-thirds gender rule. But things are changing in some countries. I would say we've had a plus in my country. We are seeing that inclusion being adhered to. But I look at a policy like the Australian policy where it is mandated that you have to report. Are we reporting if we have met the two-thirds gender rule? Is there someone checking that we are doing it right? And probably as an association, we are the ones also supposed to be checking and doing it right by ensuring that we meet that two-thirds gender rule at least before we even get to the 50-50. We know in some organizations we've also seen a bias for having only women, but we also would not want to disadvantage the men and come back years later to try and bring in men within the workspaces. Jaylal, you're muted. Prof. Jaylal?
Yes.
You're still muted. Oh, yes.
Yes, Joy,
You
thank
were
you.
muted. We thought you were talking to us.
Yes, I was just in a meeting. Thank you very much for that. Our next speaker will be Kamal Aiden. You are available? Yeah, thank you. Dr. Kamal, Dr. Sumadi? Dr. Sumadi? Kamal is from Turkey. That's I'm not able to see him in the. Dr. Sumadi, are you there? Okay. Kanawal sir, you can talk something on this aging longevity, and then we can close this session. We probably will have that. You are muted, Kanawal. Kanawal sir, you are muted.
Yes, sir. Friends, thank you, Jailal sir, for asking me to address to this important issue. Though I'm not a specialist, somehow or other, I've been involved into some research support with being in an institutional ethics board. Some areas are being addressed by me, and I'll be happy to address some core issues for the benefit of the participants. Then possibly let us see if we can have Kamal's lecture, because Kamal is a wizard onto this, and he spent enough years happening on research happening on these longevity issues. So basically, the aging and longevity research, or otherwise called the geroscience or the gerontologist, the fundamentally the ethics revolving in this is how long you can break the nature, and then how long your aging can make yourself available in this earth to consume the resources which are available. So as such, a productive human being or productive animal can live as much as they are productive. If you see, at some part of aging, the productivity and then what you are available to the society comes down. That is where the natural culling begins. Your aging eventually ends your life either by disease or by part of senility. And your nuclear material starting from mitochondria and cell organelles are programmed to end your life based on senility. But in general, the scientists who are working on this are trying to track the uh, biological age, where they are working on epigenetic clock manipulation, and they end up analyzing blood markers. Say, for instance, a child is born today, like how somebody works on astrology, these people can work on blood biomarkers. Okay, you do this test, a child is born now, this child will live up till 72 years, this child will live up till 80 years, this child will live at 40 years. That is where the problem comes. So when you are able to predict the nature, what is your longevity, your productivity immediately goes down. See, what really happens is people who are, say, for instance, somebody is destined to die at 80, they plan for a longer time and they become lethargic. Whereas a person who is going to live only for 30 years, they don't have the drive to perform, or they don't have the urge to perform into the society, because that is what the nature gives us. The aging and longevity, predictability of one's own age or one's own biological age is remaining a very big ethical challenge. And of course, there are special epigenetic clock, where thus by prolonging the longevity of the individual. So fundamentally, if you are going to talk about the progressing research and the ethical issues which are involved in it, are they have biological approach, clinical approach, and data driven approaches. If you see molecular mechanisms, they fundamentally investigate identification, like for now this person is going to live this much, or how they are going to identify is basically they are all blood based derivatives, at times stem cell based derivatives extracted, where at this point of time, the telomere damage, mitochondrial decline, and the cellular senescence are the three components which are assisted with AI enabled devices, eventually telling about whether the particular person is going to live this much and then die at this particular age. But then there are more advanced research which is happening, that's called the biological age estimation. Here, what they actually do is they measure the rate of aging. See, first thing I told about is predicting the longevity. See, here if you see, there'll be somebody who's 80 and very young and positive, and then doing all the work by himself. They do enough like intellectual work. Otherwise, if you see some people, when they are becoming 55, 60, they look in for a retirement. So the biological aging process is aiming at how speed a person starts getting aged. The first thing is, what is the longevity? What is the date of death or biological clock when it is going to do? Here, what is the age or how is the progress of the particular person's aging? Whether their metabolic signals can tell this person is going to have an exceptional life, or this person is going to have a life who's all the time visiting hospital, becoming sick, who's not have a excellent productivity throughout their life. And then eventually what really happens is the global collaborations aim at these through different things, where aging and longevity research can be biological, metabolomic, and then of course factors which are breaking the epigenetic clock mechanisms. So these are the core things one should be having in mind. And the ethicality of increasing the aging is a very, very difficult process for us to say. Right now, this become a economical issue. People who are capable to spend money on stopping this epigenetic clock will be able to live forever at this point of time. At least the research level wants to do that. Say, for instance, fundamentally, when India obtained independence, our age, like normal average age of death, remained 36 years or 32 years. Now, at this point of time, the 70 or 80 years of health governance and the provision of the healthcare in India at least have made the longevity of life somewhere between 60 to 70 years. And in urban areas, it can reach up till 80 years. So fundamentally, if people are studied about, they have done a study on people who live to age 100 years and beyond, and then they have found out they have that exceptional longevity matter, or they owe to a mix of protective genes and healthy habits. They look for on plant-based diet, physically active, regular natural movement, maintaining strong social relationships. The family bonding is strong. So, and then eventually they were also identified unique immune system traits in many centenarians. The metabolic changes associated with healthy aging have remained more or less and less clear. But then the Boston University have identified the measurable chemical fingerprints in the blood that are associated with living a very long and healthy life. So, what really happens is, I wish all of you to take up this study, The Secret to Healthy Aging. The presentation is by Boston University of Medicine. It's an open access medication publication. So, they have picked up a sort of a AI assisted metabolomic study. What they have picked up is almost 1,500 small molecules in the blood serum have been picked up, where they have predicted a metabolomic clock or a machine learning model, which will say when you are taken a blood sample for sugar, urea, creatinine, like that, your health assessment is done on a biochemical basis. Here it is a metabolomic clock where this 1,500 parameters of your biomarkers can predict what is the chronological age and associated survival. So then comes the biggest question is the ethicality of, okay, right, if they are going to live longer, are we going to age healthily? The ethical issue is when these researches happen, yes, you have declared this person is going to live 100 years. Doesn't mean he should not take care of himself or herself. So there are some challenges which are yet to be addressed. And I'm sure I've given a very bird's eye view of what is happening on this.
Dr. Sumati, this Kamal joined? But he just informed that he is about to join.
Sir is going to come, sir?
Yeah, he's addressing a meeting and he said he is going to join immediately.
All right.
Just
so then I will wind up with this.
No,
then we will wait for sir to comment.
Just a minute. Dr. Sumati is what is coordinating with the. So you continue, sir. You continue.
If they are coming, I don't mind waiting, sir. No problem. As of now, I don't see them in the group.
நீ நான் என்ன சொல்றேன், ஒரு நாளை ஃபிக்ஸ் பண்ணி எல்லாரையும் வர சொல்லுங்க. Thursday or Friday? Friday கூடும். நீங்க இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணி 9க்கு நீங்க இது பண்ணி நம்ம எல்லாரையும் பேசுவோம். பேசிட்டு வந்து அன்னைக்கே வந்து அப்பாயின்மெண்ட் ஆர்டர் கொடுக்குற மாதிரி பார்த்துருவோம்.
Uh, Sir, can I complete and finish that?
Yeah, please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Right, right. Sorry, friends, for that. I wish Sir Kamal sir is joining. But then we move on to next important issue of whatever I've discussed about the biological clock prediction, aging, healthy aging, and how we can influence it. Now, let us go into the core of this longevity business, ethicality. What is the equity and longevity divide? Then, how are the resources allocation towards the planetary health? And then, how we have intergenerational justice issues and the philosophical definition of aging. We'll address to one after the other. The equity and the longevity divide, the most immediate ethical concern is distributive justice. What really happens is, say, for instance, somebody is going to have for a liver transplant or somebody is going to go for a joint replacement. So, here somebody who is going to live longer will obviously get the benefit of having a cardiac transplant or a renal transplant or something like that. So it creates a new area called the biological underclass. So what is biological underclass? If therapies that significantly extend health span and the lifespan are not universally addressed or provided by the health systems, this society risks creating a biological underclass. Then socioeconomic disparities will not be there, but the aging, the biological prediction of the lifespan creates a exclusive biological underclass where they can be neglected or they cannot have access on modern medical care. Then comes in global health disparities. So if you see the developed countries and the developing countries and the poor countries, one could see already there are global health disparities. So, what happens really is the funneling of the capital into the radical life extension for affluent populations remains a big trouble which the world is facing now. One part of it do not even have basic sanitation, maternal care, maternity care, and treatment for infectious diseases. But if this research of aging is going to say this chap is going to go live long this much, this chap is going to die short, this global health disparity is prone to worsen. Then comes what is the resource allocation and the planetary health. Say, for instance, even if fertility is a huge stress on the environment where larger population of senior if you're youthful and your life is worthwhile. But if you're going to simply remain aging and without being a purpose, the lifespan, which is corresponding to your extended health span, would place huge financial and caregiving burdens on healthcare systems. Then comes the wealth and power stagnation. Whoever remains in the workforce, whoever remains in the group of longer age group, they will tend to acquire and stagnate more wealth. And whoever remains in the shorter health group, they may not work at all because they know they're going to die at 30 years or 40 years. So then becomes so friends, I gave a brief idea end of life, ensuring people live healthy any questions. Standard time. Thank you very much. Should you have any questions, please put up in the group. We'll be glad to take up. Thank you very much. And with the permission of the president, we call the session a close. Goodbye, friends. See you all tomorrow.
Yeah, sorry for the Kamal couldn't join because he's addressing in another meeting. It is not over, but we have just discussed about that. This is one of the important topic which we are now covering: longevity and aging, because CMA is forming a subcommittee on that, and we are going to have an international conference in on October 1st in London. That is a World Elders Day. So we'll have that. So this is one area where CMA is very concerned about ethical concern about the aging. If Kamal joins, and he can also talk to us tomorrow, I will just talk with him in the late. So till then, thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Kanavel
Excuse me,
sir.
sir.
Yeah.
Excuse me, sir. Shailesh, sir.
Yeah, Shailesh, go ahead.
I have left one question in the chat box. Expression it's regarding Joy Madam's gender issues. Even if it's answered later on, it's okay.
Joy, you are there?
Yes, I'm here, and
Yeah.
thank you very much. I was actually copying it and going to paste it somewhere and respond to you on the main group.
No, you can address the main group. Here you can
Yes,
talk.
Dr. Sailesh, we
Yes.
do take note of that. It's actually a problem everywhere. The
Yes.
teen pregnancies, childhood
Surgery
marriages,
happening
and all these bad practices are on the rise. And through the Gender Equity Committee, we will
Yes.
address and put some policy briefs and some address to even the Commonwealth gathering in November to be able
Yes.
to ensure that we can tackle this and reduce it.
As being a fellow of CMA, I also would like to participate because this is a very burning issue, big issue in India, not being handled by anyone. So if CMA
Thank you,
could
sir.
join in, could
Thank you.
participate and do something. Thank you, madam.
Thank you. We'll add
Thank
you
you.
to the gender committee, and
Sure.
we'll be happy to have you bring that voice in. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Our associate.
I think,
Jayla,
yeah.
Call a close, right?
Yes.
Thank you, friends. Goodbye, everyone.